By now, I'm sure you've all seen, if not heard, about McGregor's amazing comeback at UFC 246. Go ahead and check out my previous video I did that broke down that amazing fight, by the way, linked in the description below. So now that Conor McGregor's hype train is no longer derailed, but rather on track and in full force again, everyone's asking, what's his next fight going to be? Who's his next opponent? In this video, we're going to break down three scenarios that are most likely to play out for the remainder of McGregor's so-called 2020 fight season. Scenario number one, he plays a lightweight game. One of the more surprising callouts and names thrown out there is Paul the Irish Dragon Felder. Like McGregor, he has fought at both lightweight and welterweight. The Philadelphia native also works with the UFC. He's a commentator and was on duty for McGregor's win. He was the little fool at the desk that McGregor referred to in his post-fight interview with Joe Rogan. The Paul Felder feud goes back to October of 2019. Paul Felder, in reference to McGregor, has said, "You're representing Ireland and you got all these Irish fans behind you, but I think they're turning on you. If you want to fight somebody who's got the Irish blood in them too, who's an American, why don't you fight an Irish American? Let's get the Irish American versus a real Irishman and see who's tougher. Our family came over here and bred in America. We're a lot stronger and tougher. We got a little mixed blood thing going on here." Paul Felder goes on to say, "So, if you think you've got the chin and toughness to beat somebody like me, let's go. You think that left hand is dynamite? I guarantee you can't put me down with it." Truly fighting words, Paul Felder. McGregor did take notice, hence the comment of the little fool at the desk. But that would be an exciting fight. I'm down. Stylistically, it's a great matchup. So currently, Paul Felder has a date with Destiny, or rather with Dan Hooker, on February 22nd at UFC Fight Night 168. Dan Hooker is currently ranked number 7 in the lightweight division, and Paul Felder is number 6. Now, let's say hypothetically Dan Hooker gets injured. McGregor has alluded to wanting to fight in March. In fact, UFC 248 does not currently have a headline set for March 7th in Las Vegas. Now, this would make a lot of sense, especially since McGregor pretty much came unscathed at that last fight with Cowboy. It was the only fight where Donald Cowboy Cerrone did not land one strike against McGregor. Truly a flawless victory. The only other lightweight fight that would make sense right now outside of Khabib or Tony Ferguson, the two of whom currently have a fight set for April 18th at UFC 249, is none other than Justin Gaethje. As of Sunday night, Gaethje was actually the third best odds to be McGregor's next opponent at 6-1, according to betonline.ag. Jorge Masvidal is actually the favorite right now, followed by a rematch with Khabib Nurgamedov. Justin Gaethje is currently the number 3 ranked lightweight in the UFC and is on a hot 3-fight win streak. This fight would definitely be a fan favorite and also makes a lot of sense to book as opposed to having McGregor wait for the winner of Khabib versus Ferguson, which he not only doesn't believe will happen, it's been booked 5 times already and seems cursed after all. Add to that the fact that McGregor does not want to just sit idly by, especially now with all the momentum back on his side as well as newfound focus.
I'm certainly not going to, if this fight does go ahead, sit out and wait for it through holidays and injuries and all this type of thing that goes with it. So
it actually makes no sense for McGregor to wait for the winner of that fight, but it does make sense for him to step in if either man gets injured. So, depending on how it plays out, if McGregor takes a lightweight route, then it'll most likely be against Justin Gaethje or possibly the Irish Dragon Paul Felder. Assuming he conquers either of those two men, it sets him up perfectly for a shot against lightweight gold later in the year against the winner of Khabib and Ferguson. Now, scenario 2. Let's say McGregor decides to stay at welterweight. One obvious name that comes to mind is to finally finish off the Nate Diaz trilogy. Both of the earlier fights took place at welterweight, so it makes a lot of sense to keep the third one there as well. This has been a fight that's been talked about numerous times and only seems to be a matter of time before it actually happens. Nate Diaz's Twitter post after Conor defeated Cowboy just seemed to throw some much needed fuel on this fire to reignite the feud. Conor seems very interested in this fight and even mentioned it during the post-fight press conference.
Nate Diaz tweeted out right after the fight calling it weak as fuck. I don't know if that was in reference to Donald's performance or just the fight in general. What's your response to that, and is he anywhere on your list of potential opponents?
let's go, Nathan. Let's go, brother. Number 3. It's always here. So we're right here, Nathan.
As far as the welterweight title is concerned, supposedly Kamaru Usman, the current champ, is injured. At least that's what his manager said on Twitter. With Conor McGregor getting another bout at welterweight, this would give Kamaru Usman time to heal and set up a potential blockbuster fight later in the year. Of course, speaking of welterweight fights, we have to mention Jorge Masvidal, who shares the same manager as Kamaru Usman, a manager who has even brought up that Conor and Masvidal should fight for an interim welterweight title while Kamaru heals himself. Now, this is not a fight Dana White is a fan of, but that just makes McGregor want it even more. Dana White has commented that Masvidal is too big for McGregor, but I disagree. McGregor makes a good point referencing this as well.
ready. I enjoy this division. I like this division. I don't think they're that big. They're a bit bigger, right? Okay. I think Donald's bigger than Jorge. I know the Jorge has a win over Donald, but I think Jorge or Donald's as big. Now Jorge's a former lightweight, so I don't know what that Dana was saying. I'd like to see them on the scales right now tonight and see what they're at. And I don't think they're at the end of the day, we got to weigh 170. I feel good at 170. I don't think your man Usman, he's small enough, 5'8" or something. I think he's small. So I'm more than ready for that division. I'm here at this division. I hold a nice win in this division now. A couple of nice wins.
Now with the Cowboy fight out of the way, McGregor's proved himself at welterweight. He's got finishing power. In fact, he's the only man who's ever finished men in 3 different weight classes in UFC history. So it's not so far-fetched he could win the title in that division as well. So we've talked about potential MMA fights in 2 different weight classes that all have good odds of coming to fruition. What we didn't talk about were the potential boxing bouts. Dana White has been working on getting Zuffa boxing off the ground, and who better to help things out than a megastar such as Conor McGregor? Well, they already had a bout with Floyd Mayweather Jr. The rematch has been talked about ever since Mayweather unsurprisingly walked away with the win. In fact, Floyd even posted about this potential rematch on social media after Conor's latest win, and McGregor even mentioned it himself during the post-fight press conference.
Have you seen Floyd's post since the fight?
Yeah, he forgot McGregor Sports and Entertainment on the poster. You know what I mean? That right there cuts him out. So it's me and Manny. Look, we'll see what happens. Floyd, he's a funny man, Floyd, so we'll see what happens. The discussions are always ongoing. They never stop, you know. You know, Floyd and going through money fast. So he's far from retired, and that rematch will happen at some stage.
While I do believe the fight will eventually take place, I find the more compelling matchup between McGregor and Manny Pacquiao for several reasons, one of which is just the style. I believe McGregor actually has a good chance of stopping Manny. Both men are southpaws, which doesn't really add any strength or weaknesses to either man, but at least their footwork won't get caught up. Now imagine how much bigger and greater the potential rematch between Floyd and Conor would be if Conor proved himself in the boxing ring by stopping Manny Pacquiao. So the ideal scenario, if McGregor decides to focus on boxing for the remainder of his 2020 fight season, would be a Manny Pacquiao win, followed by the rematch between the undefeated Mayweather. Now picture the ultimate scenario here, one that would certainly cement Conor McGregor as not only the most popular fighter in the world, but hands down the greatest. He takes Khabib's perfect record and regains a lightweight title, follows it up with a welterweight title win over Kamaru Usman to become the only fighter to ever hold titles in 3 different weight classes, which is not so far-fetched, as he currently is the only fighter to have finishes in 3 different weight classes. So instead of champ that he started, he'll be known as champ. And then to top it off, which would be the so-called icing on the cake, he comes back to defeat Floyd Mayweather in the rematch to become the only man who ever defeat him inside the boxing ring. So anyway, that's the video, guys. Let me know in the comment section below who you think Conor McGregor will actually fight next, and who you'd actually like him to see fight next. Those are 2 totally separate, different things.